Thank you for that introduction, Doug, and President Gatswex and distinguished members of the Board of Trustees. Thank you for inviting me, my fellow colleagues and public. Thank you for having me. I rarely pass up an opportunity to talk about water microbiology. I love it. But today I'm going to talk about the Water Alliance and the wonderful faculty on our campus and the work that they're doing. And then it'll be a short presentation, and I hope if there's any questions or discussion, we can have that a brief time for that. So the Water Alliance was actually formed officially in 2023, but the faculty at MSU for quite some time since I first got here have coalesced together to work. Because if you work in water, you're doing interdisciplinary work. And so there was the Center for Water Sciences, there was the Water Cube program. There's been quite a lot of work and blue ribbon reports and things like that. We have over 230 some members, both specialists and faculty. That doesn't count our students and our postdocs and all the other individuals that we work with that work in the water space in some way. And they've always had an interest in forming a program. I think the unique thing about the Water Alliance is that in the past, there was a lot of focus on research, on the water research endeavor. This is focused on all three missions of the university, and that is education, research, and engagement. So I really like that aspect. We have about 228 individuals out of the total numbers that are on our listserv. And so we have great participation across the university, including our extension that have formed the Water Alliance. So we're really happy about that. Now, our goals are really to take a look at broadly our departments, our other research centers, our other institutes, and to bring them together and to really catalyze, start communicating the work we do, connect people, and of course, build the education program. I really like, our focus on this, solutions to water problems, right? So that's translation from science into practice. Amplifying our water research, teaching, and engagement. That picture below the communicate is Dr. Michael Wagner with young engineers who were in a competition for building robotics with Legos. And it was quite exciting to see all their energy. Of course, building networks, especially with our external partners, and the creating training and educational opportunities. So I think most everyone here probably knows about the threats in the Great Lakes, the coastal Great Lakes. And this freshwater body is known around the world. We are a sort of a symbol of the threats to freshwater systems, to coastal systems. And we're actually part of the marine coastal systems too. So people that work in the Great Lakes work in marine systems as well. So there's a lot of commonality. I came from Florida originally 20 years ago. I was thinking about this long coastline in Florida and this long coastline in Michigan and some of the similarities. And of course, you can see in the middle there, septic tanks was one of our issues. Flooding and climate impacts are clearly a problem. The non-point source pollution from our agricultural endeavors across the state, and our beautiful recreational beaches. I just read that recreational beaches in the United States are worth $50 billion a year. And the Great Lakes is a high percentage of that, our 500 and something beaches just in Michigan that we monitor. Of course, we had combined sewer overflows and sewage spills that we need to take care of. These all bring various types of pollutants. The state has already taken on a leadership role, for example, with PFAS, even ahead of what the federal government was doing. And you probably You might have seen in the news that they're trying to roll back some of the PFAS regulations at the national level, but I think the state will remain a leader in that regard. So I work on beaches, and this was a headline that got a lot of attention. And we might expect anytime that we have high rainfall events that more of our beaches are going to be closed. I've already seen headlines in Seattle, in Texas, in Connecticut just today about beaches being contaminated. And of course, the high rainfall in that hit Texas really impacts. So when you look at what we do on the land, you look at climate, that's the driver of the pollution to our recreational sites, to our drinking water. Of course, then the other thing that's been in the news, and a really great report by the International Joint Commission on plastics in the Great Lakes and microplastics and the harm that that's causing. So the faculty came together in 2023, and we had a lot of meetings the first year to define who we are as water scientists across the spectrum. And water is really big, right? And flows across a lot of boundaries. So, but it turns out that our faculty are driven by a lot of the same things. Climate change drives their research. Engagement, equity drives their research. I was surprised to see that commonality. They really care about that. Spatial issues, working at the very local molecular level on water, all the way to the global level of climate change, Great Lakes scale to that local beach or that local river. So these are the things that drive our faculty to the science that they do. They found themselves in what we call 3 hubs, and these are like transportation hubs, where people congregate, they move from hub to hub, bringing ideas, bringing research, bringing projects. The One Water, One Health Hub to ensure water security for healthy people and planet. They are focusing on PFAS outreach, managing contaminants, multiple contaminants. That's always been the issue. Mixtures. How do we assess exposure to mixtures? And water insecurity. In fact, our group in Flint that works on public health has done global work on water insecurity, and now is looking at that model for Michigan and looking at our own communities in the United States, believe it or not, where we have water insecurity, where we shouldn't have. We also have the ecosystem group, ecosystem resilience. They are looking at new ideas in science around the mixtures of where fresh water meets the coastline and coastline resilience. That is a very big issue right now. So how do we maintain our coastlines? We used to think, oh, it's hard infrastructure. We built a lot of hard infrastructure in the past. Now we're trying to rebuild that, rebuild with nature, what nature gave us. And so their work is, and of course, invasive species is part of the work they're doing, and maintaining our fisheries. And finally, the Water, Food, Energy group. We have a great group that's looking at advancing innovation in wastewater treatment for resource recovery. And I love this because I work in water reclamation, and it turns out in water resource recovery around the world, the #1 product we recover is water, clean water from our wastewater. Secondly is energy, and third is nutrients. And so we're losing nutrients, phosphorus in our soil, we're losing soil health. We're putting nutrients into our water where we don't need them, having hazardous algal blooms around the world. And so how can we switch that, switch that around? So that's very exciting. And that center has come together with others to look at where are the innovations for small communities, mixed waste, agricultural waste, food waste, animal waste in particular. We don't treat our animal waste in the world. And that is the #1 source of contaminants now for nutrients and pathogens. So they're coming together with others to say, where's the innovative technology to go to small communities, recover water, energy, and nutrients as part of that circular economy. So these are real exciting efforts. We're improving health. I think we're the epicenter for water quality science and solutions in the Great Lakes. I think Michigan really has a focus on that. water quality is across the scientists that work in these various hubs. Even in the food safety arena and talking to the industry, they said water quality was the #1 indicator of whether they were going to have a foodborne outbreak or contamination problem. Comprehensive new technology of source tracking, pathogen assessment, and of course, emerging concerns on microplastic, PFAS, and viruses. And of course, addressing disease transmission. I think the state of Michigan leads the nation in building a laboratory network that serves about 60% of the population watching disease in the community through wastewater surveillance. And wastewater surveillance has been around for a while. WHO had built it for polio virus, so we can use wastewater to look at what's happening in the community. It's inexpensive, it's rapid, and this one graph on the bottom here, the blue line shows the wastewater signal. It gave us an early warning for SARS across the state of about 30 days. And for other pathogens, we have various types of lead. And so the state of Michigan is still operating a statewide monitoring program, although the budgets have been cut across the US. And they are now looking at RSV, they're looking at influenza, they're looking at bird flu, and norovirus, a lot of other diseases where you can watch the community, provide the information to the local health department, and they can take on public health action. So MSU's been leading the statewide network, and it's been highly successful. We're, of course, advancing the technology. Control of plastics is a big issue. Eagle has just suggested that they want to take a leadership role around managing plastics in our waterways. And this is the macroplastics and the microplastics. And now we have a researcher at MSU who's working on nanoplastics. That's even smaller and smaller. And understanding the sources, where did they come from? Did they come from sewage? Did they come from, trash and the public? What I really liked about the group that came together for this is we also have a group that looks at art and science and engagement. And they use art to engage with the public, to talk about science and to talk and to communicate. And this is a perfect project for that kind of interface. Of course, protecting nature is part of this. Plastics have a big impact on ecosystems. And beyond that, of course, we have a very strong program in the control of invasive species. And finally, this whole issue of impact of natural and human-made disasters and our coastal systems. Michigan is like Florida in a way. We've lost our wetlands. Wetlands were the system in the state that kind of grabbed the water, grabbed the contaminants. We've destroyed 80% of our wetlands over the last 100 years. And now we're trying to figure out what's the best way to restore some of that nature and nature-based solutions. The plastics project hopefully is being funded by Eagle. On July 3rd, we'll have a virtual seminar with Eagle in the city of Lansing and East Lansing. And this is a technology that's come from the Netherlands. We want to demonstrate it here, actually have a demonstration. I love demonstration projects with water. But beyond just demonstrating the technology, we're going to look at the science. Like, what's the science and the hydrology, how fast the water moves, what kinds of plastics, how do we engage with the public? So this is a scientist from Engineer, Community, Sustainability, and Packaging. They're putting this project together. I love that integration of different science. As I mentioned, inspiring the circular solutions. Water is now really thinking about the circular economy. We're so linear. We were so linear also in our education. People were, over here, they learned about stormwater, over here, wastewater, over here, drinking water and groundwater and beaches, recreational waters. We're thinking about the one water concept. How do we look at the one water concept and tie that to the one health concept? Health of the environment, health of people, health of the biosystem, animals and plants. And as I've said, one of our focuses is on small systems, because if you look at the technology that's out there, it's been for the big cities and they've been able to afford it, put in this new technology and take the benefits. But the smaller communities are often the ones that need these. And it can supply enough resources actually to run the plant and then to move into the supply chain some of the materials. So it's really going to be an exciting endeavor. One of our goals for the next 2 years is to really focus on young professionals. And what I mean by our young professionals is our graduate students, our postdoctoral scientists, and our assistant professors. We know with all these cuts that they're the ones that are going to be really suffering. I think, they're going to be the ones that are going to be stressed out and struggling and thinking about how they get their next grant. But there's so much we can do to help them. Right now, we're still luckily funded by the NSF. That hasn't been cut. For our research traineeship grant, it's water cubed, and it's called water cubed because we're bringing data science, AI, machine learning together with water science, together with social science. So how do we solve water science, water pollution problems or water problems, using big data, using AI, using all the new tools, but through a social lens. Because you never solve water problems without engagement with the community. We have 14 participating departments. We have a cohort of about 20 students, and we're building curriculum that more students are going to join. And our students are fabulous. They're so excited about the work they're doing and bringing these getting trained at this interface. I'll just end with a couple of things on our future efforts. One of our major pushes is going to be communications. And we've got a website. We'll put up a directory soon. On that website, we've got our stories up there. But we've just engaged with some of the younger people that really know how to use our social media to advance our stories. We've got such great stories around water, and we haven't told them, I think, as well as we could. And so that's really going to be our goal, is to tell the stories on all the new work that we're doing and the work that we're funding. Well, as I said, we're working with Eagle, and this project on plastics, by the way, is a partnership with Grand Valley State University, and we'd like to see more of those kinds of projects. I was here last year, and I met with the group that's developing the Freshwater Center for Research and Innovation. And I think that is another place with Northwestern Michigan College where we can, start and look for opportunities to work together on key projects. We're going to submit a large grant to the Borough's Welcome Fund on climate and health. We have expertise in climate. We have expertise in health. We've worked together. We're really looking at how water and foodborne diseases can be mitigated at the community level using climate information and our wastewater surveillance program. We're hoping we're going to organize and run 2 national beach conferences. We were awarded an EPA grant, but it's gone silent. But we have not received the letter that said we are not awarded the grant anymore, which is good news. I've heard from some of our other grants that we submitted that we were at the end of President Biden's administration that we were awarded. We already got letters that said they're going in a new direction, so we're not going to get those grants. But this one we haven't heard yet. So somebody maybe likes beaches. And so MSU will be leading these national beach conferences, I hope. We're going to continue to engage with stakeholders and the private sector in particular, because they have some big challenges with water. And from what we heard, they're going to need academic, intellectual approaches. And we had the World Bank at our recent Fate of the Earth conference, and they are very interested in what's going on globally, this idea of water, food, energy, health, bringing all that together and bringing some science to the local communities around the world. So we'll be starting a collaboration with the World Bank. Any rate, we're a small team right now, but of course we just represent with the faculty. We're there to help the faculty move these things forward. Erin Dreeland, the Associate Director, Asia Witt, our Communications Manager. She just joined. She's doing such a great job. Ellie Sabula is a technical aide. She just graduated from packaging and is having these young people on board is fantastic. And Melissa Downs, who's been helping with the administrative assistance work. So again, thank you for having me here. And I'm happy to answer any questions or entertain any other comments that others would like to make. Thank you.